Where do you think that mental stress fits into this as well? You have a chapter on mental freedom, and a lot of these concepts that we're talking about right now, I look at them as like feedback loops. Like, which came first? Are you thinking poor thoughts because your diet is bad? Or is your diet bad and causing you, are you thinking bad thoughts causing you to have a bad diet? Like, which came first? And I think what I've learned a lot of, really, this is a fascinating one on the Ozempic conversation, because I've straight out of the gate have been like, oh, there is no way there's going to be a magic pill that overturns years and years of toxicity for the human body. But what I've heard in a lot of cases on the weight loss drugs is that once people start to drop the weight, that their thoughts change for the better. And so then they start to make better choices for their health, which I can understand that. So where can we use the power of our mind? Where does stress come into the metabolic picture? And how do we integrate it into everything we've talked about so far?
Love it, Mindy. This is my favorite thing to talk about. Chapter 10, it's my favorite chapter in the book. I know it'll change many lives for those who read chapter 10, listen to chapter 10. To answer that question, it's an interesting thought. Is it the toxic thoughts that lead to poor behaviors and bad eating, or is it the bad health that lead to toxic thoughts?
Right.
I think it's both, but I would say the thoughts come first. And then it makes it more difficult to change those thoughts because you're becoming unhealthy. But even before all of that is your environment. Your environment determines the thoughts, which determines everything else. But before I get to all that, the mind. The mind, by the way, is not a thing. It's an activity. A lot of people think of the mind, they think of the brain. It's not the brain. The mind is an activity.
Beautifully said.
Your fingernails are the same, are as much as the mind as your brain is. So the mind is not the brain. Your thoughts are very powerful, and your thoughts have the ability to heal you or to hurt you. And I start chapter 10 off with a story, and I'll give the story right now because I think it's that important. You've never heard this story, Mindy, so I'm excited to share it with you right now because it gave me goosebumps. Yeah, it gave me goosebumps when I first heard Bob Proctor share this story. It was from the 1960s. It was actually in the newspaper. And it's a story about a train station employee. He worked on a train inside of a refrigerator cart. And he was working late one night inside of this refrigerator cart. He didn't realize it was past 10 p.m. He was supposed to clock out. His coworkers left for the night. He tried to leave, and he was locked into that refrigerator cart. He was trying to open up that door. He's banging on that door. He was stuck, and he was freezing. And he knew nobody was coming until the next morning. Ooh. So his thoughts got the best of him. He started to freak out and have really negative thoughts. And he ended up writing on the wall, documenting his night. And the newspapers caught this with photos the next day. He wrote at 12 a.m., "I'm stuck. It's cold. I don't know if I'm going to make it tonight." At 1 a.m., he wrote the words, "Freezing. Temperature keeps dropping. Cannot keep myself warm." At 3 a.m., he wrote the words, "I'm freezing to death. I think I'm going to die." 7 a.m. rolls around. His coworkers clock in. They open up that refrigerator cart. The man was dead. He froze to death, hypothermia. What was interesting about the story, when they investigated the temperature apparatus, it never dropped below 55 degrees Fahrenheit. It had been malfunctioning for weeks.
Oh my God.
His thoughts literally created disease and death, hypothermia, Mindy.
Oh my God. Is that a true story?
That's a true story. It was in the newspapers in the 1960s.
Wow.
So I start the chapter off with that story to illustrate how powerful your thoughts can be. If our thoughts can do that, can our thoughts heal us as well? Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. And we know Dr. Bruce Lipton has proven with his work that thoughts are a frequency that have the ability to communicate with all 70 trillion cells inside of the body. If it's a hateful thought, angry thought, bitter thought, resentful thought, the signal sent to the DNA produces inflammatory proteins, which shortens the telomeres, damages the DNA, and shortens the lifespan with a single thought. But if it's a grateful thought, loving thought, abundant thought, healing thought, same signal sent, Now your DNA produces anti-inflammatory proteins, your telomeres are protected, your genes are protected, and you extend your lifespan. And psychiatrists have shown, study after study, that the average person has 60,000 thoughts a day, and they estimate that 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts from yesterday, and 85% of those thoughts are negative thoughts, what Zig Ziglar used to call stinking thinking. And I've been saying, if your thinking is stinking, your health is shrinking. So I think, pun intended, that the greatest biohack I could ever share, learn, apply, is that if you have 60,000 thoughts every day, and those thoughts have the ability to communicate with your cells, you have 60,000 opportunities every day to put your body in a healing anti-inflammatory state. That is the greatest thing I could ever learn, ever share, and I'm excited to go deeper in that concept on chapter 10 in the book.
Yeah, that's amazing.